Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the first conference shutout in 20 years, 42-0, and we're back to the medical tent.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again following a 42-0 shutout for the Red Raiders from Jones Stadium over the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Nothing but celebratory conversation, I'm sure, to be had this week, in addition to a couple of other layers. On today's episode, we get to a defensive shutout, which was a sight for sore eyes, to the tune of like, these eyes have been sore for 2 decades since we've seen some things like this. I also want to get to what was another grinded out, slogging kind of day for the offense. Of course, that was not without some good reason, which is where we will begin. Will Hammond, your backup starting quarterback, left the game, did not return, and some initial assessments or feelings leaving the ball game. Chris, not optimistic about the immediate future or future maybe even for this season for Will Hammond. So we'll get into some of what we know as we sit here today. There's still much confirmation to come, I know, on that front, Chris, but it kind of seemed like as soon as that happened, you get the medical tent going, and then it's just kind of looked like and sounded like concern all the way around.
Yeah, just a weird day in the stadium. Again, another delay. And it's an opponent that, which I think affected the crowd a bit. It wasn't as full as it maybe would have been. I don't know. But it just kind of had this, I don't want to say like flat feeling about it a bit at times. Like you mentioned the I think you used the word slug or grind or whatever. It's just kind of like a, and again, was that because of who you were playing against? Was that because of the delay? Was that because of your QB situation? I don't know. But I don't want to. That's what sucks about these kinds of seasons when you have these kinds of expectations. And I told myself I wouldn't do this, but and you should feel good about a 42-0 win. It doesn't matter who it's against or the fact that somebody didn't score a point against you. It hasn't happened in 20-something years around here in the Big 12 Conference. I think 05 against Baylor was the last one in October, November of that year. And I thought your defense played good. You created some takeaways, but special teams I thought was good, other than a missed extra point and a missed field goal that were makeable, obviously. But you had the kickoff return and you had the block punt, and you're going to need some of that to continue. But yeah, I couldn't help but leave the stadium feeling, somber is the right word, or if I was like, damn. Because we don't know. I'm just afraid you're going to get some pretty bad news on Will Hammond. And again, depending on when you're consuming this, you could have confirmation of that, or, hey, dodged a bullet. I know that it didn't take long to examine him. And typically when it's a non-contact injury, which is what he just kind of was trying to cut on that turf, and it just looked a bit awkward. You can kind of see his ankle, but that just screams the possibility of an ACL injury, which is typically, they're non-contact, and that's a 9-month at least scenario if that's what it indeed is. And the only time that I can remember whenever that was kind of the original scare or feeling, or phrase it however you want, was Baker Mayfield in the year he was here, and you were in Lawrence, Kansas, and that happened. And I think that was all the same things, and you get back and it's like, okay, it's actually not. It's just going to be a couple of weeks, and Davis Webb played for those couple of weeks, and then Mayfield kind of came back, and then they ended up transferring. But that was really the only time I can remember because they initially go doctors, trainers, whatever, they can go look at this, and within pretty much seconds, depending on what they feel or how it moves, they can kind of tell pretty much instantly. And the fact that they didn't go immediately x-ray it kind of tells you, okay, you're definitely out for today. We'll get this done in the morning. And he stayed in uniform and just stayed out there to support his teammates. But there's a reason you have Mitch Griffiths here. We've talked about this. You're going to need all these guys. I mean, I was kind of saying it where you're going to need Barron and Will both, and now here we are into the Mitch Griffiths business. But thankfully, he was a very crafty, smart addition as an insurance policy, so you didn't have to trot out Lloyd Jones or Holden Phillips. Your fourth and fifth options. And you've got an older guy that's got Power 4 experience, and Mitch Griffiths thankfully can come in and finish the game and look competent and make some plays and all that. But how much, I don't know if you want to get into the Hammond stuff more, but it just could set off a chain of events here that I think is a bit uncomfortable and awkward to talk about, and it sucks if this is what indeed we get news on.
I definitely want to get into a couple of different conversations as we roll through this week, more in depth on this chain of events. Obviously, we'll wait to see for some final confirmation, I guess, as to what to expect upcoming this week. But I just hate that it's always something with this room. And I guess I'm still just sort of asking myself, Chris, why is our quarterback always in danger? No matter who it is, why are they continuously in situations where they're ball carriers? And I know there's an aspect to the offense where there's some of that. I know there's some decisions made by the QBs on the field. I know there are things that the defense does that sometimes leads to you having to be that as a QB. But we're there week after week. We're on to a third and now a fourth quarterback making an appearance Saturday. I mean, is there nothing that can be done to try to protect these guys or limit their exposure a little further?
Well, I mean, I think we can look around the country and there's quarterbacks that are carrying it 15 times a game and are fine. It's just, this is
so are those quarterbacks more made to do that and ours aren't?
Well, I mean, Hammond is a dual threat. I mean, he's a guy that had over 1,000 yards in high school. I mean, we've seen what he's done. I mean, you see these collisions he's had at the goal line. He's in the open field and it's a non-contact. It's just fluky. It's bad luck. I mean, and like Barron's injury, which is really, it's just really been one injury. I mean, it's because of just a late blitz pickup, and he's not running around scrambling. He just he gets smoked. It's just. It's frustrating. Yeah,
that's just the question I heard the most on the patio post game. I've heard the most since. Why are we constantly utilizing guys like this? I have no idea. Is my only answer.
Yeah, well, and you're going to continue. I just think it's part of the game. I think that you're in the extend to play or mobile quarterback business. Everybody is. You're going to ask QBs to run and extend plays and to be a mover back there.
So we need bigger guys or slippery guys.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Because Will doesn't look like a real big guy to me. Morton's certainly not slippery or big. I'm watching like the Aggie QB, who's not like a monster, but very, very slippery.
Yeah,
those QBs over time, Chris, that have got some feel where somehow they seem to always avoid the biggest shots. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that type of, I guess, ball carrier as well out there. I don't know, but grasping at straws, because this is, check the calendar, how many weeks running we've had this kind of angle
since the season began. And here's the thing: these injuries take place against UAPB and against Oklahoma State when you were a 37.5-point favorite. I mean, it's just, it's uncanny. And I don't want to take away from the win here. You're 7-1. You are in a really good spot. You are in a position where you're still, I think, large in part control of your own destiny. Just the one scenario. Well, you know what? I guess you now are firmly. I take that back, because ASU and their bottle throwing fans onto the field. Yeah, we saw it. They no Jordan Tyson. Imagine that. And then Sam Levitt doesn't finish the game, and Houston wins. So that they're kind of they're behind you right now. The only way that they even come back into the picture is if you lose another game, and that doesn't count the teams ahead of you. But you are in a pretty good spot. It's just going to focus on the next 2 weeks here. But Barron will start.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app. So before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
Barron will start against Kansas State. I think, as we saw, he came back out of the locker room suited up yesterday, and again, emergency situation only, because you have to win that game. And I think that we all think, okay, you don't have to worry about it. You're firmly in the lead, but you just can't fiddle with anything right now. You can't assume too much. But thankfully that game went the way that it did. You wish it would have maybe gone that way a bit sooner, so you could have gotten some guys out. We were talking about Mitch Griffiths handing off to Adam Hill as being our perfect script. That's not the way I wanted Mitch Griffiths to enter the game.
Just like you scripted it.
Yeah, it was late in the second quarter
for these QBs, and I'm glad to call Holden Phillips' name. I was just hoping that it would be all led to by a different path. I
know. Yeah, and we have a new running back, by the way. We need to get to that at some point because you call another running back's name that we hadn't previously called because he just moved there.
Right.
But okay, so let's just lay this out here as it regards to Hammond. And we've got plenty of time to continue to talk about the game and thoughts of what went right, what you didn't like, and all that stuff. And then obviously looking ahead to Kansas State. I just don't want to not get into what potential ramifications the Hammond news could lead to. And maybe by the time that people watch this, consume this, there was a bullet dodged, and you get good news, and it's like, okay, it's not this, but I think the heavy betting favorite is that it won't be good news. So with that being said, Cowan, I think you're staring at a scenario to where just like that, your next season is severely altered, and you will be portal shopping for a quarterback. Probably and preferably maybe somebody with just 1 year to come play. But if this injury is what you fear and it's an ACL situation, it's 9 months at minimum. And yeah, I'm sure there's examples of a little bit, but that's missing the entirety of the spring. And then are you really ready to put all the eggs in the let's hope he's back, at what level is he back basket for next season, and this is what you're going to turn it over to? I just don't think you can do that, and I don't think that they would. So that and this can. I don't want to be over dramatic about it, but this is a kind of an injury, if this is what it is, that can really alter the trajectory of a program if you don't manage it properly and all those things. Because I'm not saying he can't play next year. It would be unfortunate to have to push him into, dude, we got to have it. We need you at a very high level. I mean, and that's kind of where you're trying to play your way into. And so that's why I just say that, man, this is this is a portal situation staring you in the face right now. And, the Griffiths having an extra year now becomes even more of a big thing. And I don't know if you're ready to say, okay, Mitch Griffiths, you lead us to a Big 12 championship or contention of a Big 12 championship and all that stuff. So it's just like that on a Saturday afternoon in late October. It's kind of the trajectory of, and then there's obviously immediate. Barron's going to be back, but now my guess is going to be Will's going to be out for a bit, if not for long term. And so it's going to be a Barron Mitch Griffiths dynamic the rest of the way. And you've got two extremely important games coming up that are, call it what you want. It's just not, I'm sure that it exists. I just think you are playing with red hot burning fire if you lose one and then still have an eye on Arlington. And it can maybe happen. Obviously, BYU and Cincinnati still have to play each other, so there's a loss there. You have to play BYU, but if you were to lose one of these two games, Arizona State comes back into the equation and they've got the tiebreaker over you again, and just there's all kinds of dynamics. So it would really behoove you to take care of your business in the next 2 weeks, which those games are tough on paper, but then obviously the 2 weeks after that as well. But there's a lot going on here, man. Never a dull moment. But you're 7-1. You're going to move up in the polls, I think, or stay close to the same. And you got a major matchup staring you in the face at a place that you've only won one time before, Manhattan, Kansas, coming up this weekend. But it's all hands on deck next weekend.
So the portal thing sounds interesting again, and a great reason to get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss anything when we get to the portal party. Here's the deal. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Recruit the best quarterbacks that you can. Plan for the future to be competing for conference championships, and that may now include a 1-year shopping kind of thing for a QB in 2026. Wild how the worm can turn so quickly, but that's the situation that we're in, and I don't fear it. I don't find it to be anything other than what this business can often call for, which is working on the fly, Chris. But as well as I do, when it comes to not the immediate future, but some of the QBs already on the prospect radar or already on campus or committed to be Red Raiders, very exciting. So as we look ahead to some of those possibilities, it's not a downer kind of a conversation to me, but it is definitely, depending upon what we learn about Will this week, an adjusted conversation. There's no question about that. I mean, you can't get around it. Like you said, it'd be very difficult to look at a guy that suffered an injury like that if it's a worst case scenario and be like, all right, well, get well soon, buddy. And by soon, we mean in time to lead us to a conference championship next year. That's a big ask, but we'll see, man. Thinking about Will, that's unfortunate. And what a weird little twist for a Tech fan. Feeling good about getting a starting quarterback back next week, yet somehow we're in knots about QB2 this time around. I mean, every angle you can imagine, we've been there.
And I do. Injuries just suck, no matter who it is. It's just the worst part of this sport. We all love it so much. We are all invested emotionally, financially, all the above. And it's just it's the part of the game that you wish you could remove from it, but it just exists. And it's Barron's situation. I mean, don't you know that all summer long he's like, man, I missed all spring and summer, and everybody's worried about his shoulder. And since the get-go, he's been worried about a leg. He can't even really enjoy his last season here. And I was told over the summer a few times. I want to make sure I mention this. I was told a few times over the summertime, and he can come back, after this year. And I didn't understand how or on what grounds. And so it made me think of that yesterday. I was like, well, I think Barron can actually get – I've checked on that. I don't think that's possible. I don't know on what grounds, like what waiver. I wouldn't rule anything out. I just don't – I think I'm wrong there. But I had important people kind of suggesting that was an option. I don't think that was the original plan. But it's just, anyway, in injuries, specifically to quarterbacks, can just alter the course of a program or the trajectory of a program and all those things. And like you just, it's all going to be about how you, but this is why you have your analytics folks and your personnel department, and they've got to be a step ahead and probably already had a list and options. And just in case. And now you'll have to go find that in whatever drawer it's in and go, okay, again, if we get the news that we may be fearing here, that's again just the harsh reality of it. And because just laying it out here, Lloyd Jones, his first game, he's the true freshman. He suited up for the first time yesterday. He's coming off of an ACL injury. So contextualize this one. He had an ACL injury last September, and here we are in mid to late October. He's just now suited up, and he's just now, and I don't think they would necessarily feel comfortable with throwing him in there. You see what I'm saying? Like on the timing here?
Yes.
I mean, so it's just, that's why I'm like, I mean, if this is what it is, I just don't see really any way around going the portal route. And Stephen Cannon is going to be your freshman quarterback that you are signing. This would have been a developmental. He's not an instant like, hey man, yeah, here's the keys to the kingdom. Get after it, big boy. That's not what you're signing here. Kavion Bryant is a 27 kid, so he can't even sign until a year from now. And so that's why I just think you get into a potential portal scenario here if we get bad news on Will Hammond. So,
damn, sorry about that. That's 20 minutes on an injury. And do check out, get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Our new upcoming show, Locked On MRI Results, free and available anywhere you get podcasts. I guess we got a few minutes for the game. 0 points given up by the D. That's great. Offense, it was rough all the way around. Some of that quarterback related, no doubt. Some of it not. How are we processing a 42-0 between the lines result, Chris? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered, and it's quick, easy, and secure every time. Ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Defense, I think you were concerned about, all the gadgets and trick plays. I think Oklahoma State really searching for identity. They did not have Rodney Fields yesterday, and I would have told you that, because that would have been the one guy that would have scared you the most. Number 20 ran for 160 the previous week, 163, I think, against Cincinnati. They don't have him. They're on a third-string QB, third-string running back. They just kind of took. You could tell this was a quarterback that was very uncomfortable, and he's just kind of throwing to a spot or going with a first read. I thought you handled it well, and maybe at times just kind of got through it a bit. You were just kind of ready to put this game at a point where you could get some of these guys out after you start seeing some guys limping off and putting ice packs on their calves in between series like Jacob Rodriguez was. This is the terrible part about football too, in that there's nothing to gain out of that game yesterday except for the result, but you have to play it and you have to take it seriously. But there's nothing, it's like an expected result. It's you just got to get through it. But yet, when you try to get through it, there's things that happen in the midst of a game. But I thought the shutout was good. I don't know if they ever really scared you from being able to score. You held them to like 182 total yards, and did your thing. Offensively, you drop a bomb that's there. I think it was that Virgil or Douglas that dropped it?
That was Virgil.
Virgil, yeah, just dropped it. And that's you may not get that chance again in one of these next two games. Like that's a play you just absolutely have to make. It could be the difference. And then running the football was just concerned, regression. I don't know, or you just playing down your comp. I don't know what's going on there, but it was. I just didn't like back-to-back weeks now. Offensive line just really not. And Jados left the game, did not return. He's been playing through a shoulder injury. That's what they're looking at over on the sideline. They move him out and put Cash Cleveland in. Zambrano was out yesterday. I think he's headed for a redshirt season, so I think that you won't see him the rest of the year. And so, but you just there wasn't a lot of push, wasn't a lot of movement. In generally speaking, there's a few examples to the contrary, but it just, I don't know, man. 2.2 yards a carry against the worst defense in the Big 12 at your place. I don't know. Can't do that. Yeah, can't do that the next 2 weeks. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And is this a scenario to where, again, you're just kind of, you get caught up into the circumstances. You're worried about Will. We had a delay. I'm thrown off. It's kind of a flat thing. I'm playing down to my competition. But whatever it is, I need that Salt Lake City performance in there. I need that primetime Kansas performance. I know it's in there somewhere, but that's what you're going to need to see the next 2 weeks as it relates to that group up front.
Yeah, and I just can't buy into any of the circumstance stuff or like back to energy talk or the delay or the whatever. I mean, it's just football eventually, and it's you, a man, versus the man in front of you. Move him out of the way. Yes. And we're just not getting that consistently enough. I said on the post-game report last night, Chris, I kind of feel like in a way there's it's like the team is a microcosm within the offensive line. Improved, yes. Are you championship caliber improved? That verdict is still very much out. So not to suggest that it, is a step back from where you've been by any means. I don't even know if it's all that ugly all the time. But again, championship caliber is what we're trying to work up here. And it certainly is not looking like that. I think there are also a few occasions that just stood out to me in this game in particular, where I felt like maybe the running backs, particularly Dickey in some instances, I remember kind of doing their own thing in just a layman's way of describing it. And I'm not exactly sure where the path is supposed to lead necessarily. I'm not drawing up that play, but it didn't seem to be maybe where they were headed or where he was headed a couple of times. So there's still some, I don't know, maybe some synergy or some trust of some kind between ball carrier and O-line to consider. I'm not sure. But obviously the QB thing makes a huge, huge impact. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just be more physical than them and move them. Yeah. And who cares about a lightning delay or a QB or a medical tent or whatever? And we're not really getting that.
Yeah, and was this, Terrence Carter obviously didn't play. He had been involved. Are you trying to be too basic with some of your stuff yesterday, just knowing that you probably were going to be good enough to be? I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I don't know.
With Terrence this week, by the way, is it too early to say, or with Terrence Carter?
I would fully expect to see him play in Manhattan, Kansas.
That is high on the wish list, man. I mean, just a catalyst to so many things for that offense.
He's kind of a straw that stirs the drink. When it looks good, he's usually in the middle of it as a blocker, pass catcher. A nice chess piece to move around the board. I certainly don't disagree. I don't know at what level he would be at, but I just think at this point, man, it's all hands on deck, man. I don't know about Jados. I don't. I'm trying to remember. But you start looking at it, Callan, and you start looking at like the game of attrition. We would certainly think Barron would go in at, you would hope he's 100% or close to it, but probably not. He's this is a leg injury that is not really been allowed to heal because they played him through it, and he's taken a few hits on it. And no Will Hammond, no Quentin Joyner, no Skylar Gill Howard. And you start looking at too, like you have a hard time pulling your linebackers out of these games, even when you're way out in front, just because that's your dirty little secret here. There's not just a ton of depth there. Justin Horn hasn't suited up at all this year. Guess what he had last November against Colorado? I think it was a knee injury, and he's still on the shelf, hasn't suited up. Miguel Dingle, remember him? I mean, so you've been nickel and dimed enough with some of these linebacker injuries, so you're getting into some of this depth. And obviously with no Carter, you had Deanthus Upshaw, an offensive lineman, switching numbers, suited up in number 49, coming in there is like an extra tight end when you were running 12 personnel as just this blocker. but that's, so there's all kinds of things you're having to try to do just because you're getting dinged up here and there. And I go back to the conversation we had a variety of times. Do we see now how big the injury to Quentin Joyner was? Because are you seeing what Jacoby Williams could do as a returner? I mean,
I noticed
it's back-to-back weeks where he's electric, but you're having to use that in spot duty. Imagine if you didn't have to use him on a bunch of carries in the backfield, and you could, play him as this spot running back and then full-time returner. It just, but because I think he's pretty damn good, but you just have to be careful there. But right now, you can't save anybody for anything. There's no such thing as really being worried about this or that. It's the chips in the middle of the table this weekend with your best need to be at your best, and we'll get into that as the week goes. But you just kind of see what the original plan was, but sometimes the best laid plans, kind of like your quarterback scenario here could be severely altered as well. But this is sports. This is what you deal with.
Yes, it is. And thankfully I deal with you. So you've been preparing me for months for the need all these QBs. And now I'm left to ask, what did Chris Level know at the time? But that's a conversation for another episode.
Well,
Chris Level.
I'll tell you what I knew. In 12 of the last 17 years, you've started more than one quarterback in a game, in a meaningful game.
There it is.
So
you're saying that was your indication?
I mean,
I'm looking at the guy down on the field Saturday, whose name is now on the wall, and I'm thinking, man, what an enchanted life we were leading during that era, where I know it wasn't, just easy street as far as a quarterback getting nicked here or there. And Graham Harrell, as a matter of fact, had one, I think, late in his time as a Red Raider that was approaching serious. But man, how many years did we roll through where if this podcast existed, we weren't talking injury storyline week after week?
I think Cliff, BJ, Sonny, Cody, I think, and then there's a 3 to 5 year run there for sure. I just not remember what the exact time, but large in part, and it was this way with your O-line too. It was like these 5, this one, everybody go. Let's play our 12 to 13 games, no problem. And then when the kind of the Potts Sheffield thing started to happen, it's just kind of never really we've been
stabilized.
Yeah, we've been just kind of riding this.
Not enough.
Yeah. So it's just.
This is a Sunday where we're looking ahead to getting our starting quarterback back, and this is the conversation.
I know. Yes, but hey, man, it's PTSD. It's life of a Tech fan. It's the Mike Leach curse. I've heard everything, but it's also just sports. Guys get hurt. It absolutely sucks. You hate it for the young men that are going through it, because their life and day to day just is going to look vastly different, and it's just it's the harsh reality of playing a very physical and violent sport. Even when you're just running around the open field trying to juke somebody and you're not touched, and it just doesn't cooperate. I mean, it's just I don't know.
Right, and then that leads to water table conversations following the game, and if you know for what reasons. Chris, appreciate your time as always, man, for some reaction here on this Sunday, and looking forward to the week ahead as you are right back into a must-win situation. Surprise, everyone you win leads to another must-win situation, but this is a tough one. 8 straight going the wrong way against these jerks in purple, so we're trying to flip the script. We will get to some more pertaining to the Purple Wildcats on tomorrow's episode. I do want to get back to Barron and talking about hopefully the difference that he himself singularly can make for this offense moving ahead as well. So looking forward to it, man.
I can't wait to talk about that. I have high expectations and ready to talk about the Wildcats and all that, because we knew this was going to be one back in the summer. It was one of the 3. and you are 1-1 in that 3-game that was going to kind of decide it, and you could earn the right to play an extremely important play for a lot in your next home game if you can go to Manhattan and get a result. And that's what this is all about. And it's going to be number 2 that'll I don't want to say largely decide it, but yeah, he could largely decide it.
That's right. And Baron Morton as well. I'm assuming you're talking about Lee Hunter.
Well, him too.
Earned the right to maybe set up the biggest home game in close to 2 decades on the other side of the weekend is what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. A lot on the line, to say the least. Looking forward to talking about it and chopping it all up with you all week long. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing. And seriously, I'm going to run the flag up the line and see what kind of answer we get from the top. Maybe a Locked On MRI results. Be good across the nation. I could probably be phoning in to college locales all across the country on Sunday for those kinds of reports. Chris, appreciate you and appreciate everybody for their time out there today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks to the everydayers for always riding along. And, of course, the Matador Mob. Find our show notes and hit a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with a one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.